Welcome to Chapter 33, Oceania. That's me and the Outrigger. It's really small, but trust me. All right, same three headings we always get in the first section. Landforms. Now the map that I gave you, it's divided into these three regions. We'll take a look at each one specifically. And since it's ocean and water, you're going to see different maps where there are not exactly the same shape. So, compared to that one to this one, Melanesia is slightly larger. It means Black Islands. Papua New Guinea is by far and away the biggest island in the group, especially in mountain valleys, really good soil. Maybe you've heard of Fiji, the Solomon Islands. These are obviously some very picture postcard looking place. Vanuatu. All right, little islands, that's Micronesia. And of course, many of these island groups, I can't actually pronounce. The Federation, that's Micronesia, a lot of little tiny islands coming together. Your book mentions all of those. Guam, we'll talk about that because that's an American possession. That's the naval base, which is the first reason why we took it. But you can go there for vacation as well. And our last group is Polynesia, and I hope that you know poly means many. Here are some of our hottest vacation spots. Samoa, American Samoa, we own part of it. Those are two different places. That's a resort. And of course, Hawaii, which is our 50th state. I know some of you, semester project, are going to Easter Isle. The Easter Island is part of Chile. We just finished Japan, and you should know that we are still in the Ring of Fire. So we're going to have earthquakes and volcanoes. Many of these islands, especially the more fertile islands, the larger islands, were created by tectonic activity. Take a look at the population density. Population is inland in the mountains because that's where your best soil is. But at the same time, we need to know that they have joined the 21st century, and the vast majority of these people are going to live in cities and live a very similar life to people living in cities in the United States. Low islands, atolls, and they are literally ring-shaped islands. Coral reefs, where you'll get this lagoon in the middle. Very few resources. This is a good video from your book. You really should watch this. I guess you have no choice.
How do you create one of the most stunning locations on Earth? You work at it for a really, really long time. An atoll starts as a volcanic island rising up out of the ocean. When the volcano becomes extinct, there is no longer the spewing lava needed to maintain it, and the island begins to sink. Billions of hard corals now live at the edge of the island near the surface of the water. These tiny animals cluster in groups and secrete hard limestone exoskeletons to support and protect their bodies. The coral eventually build a fringing reef around the island, and a thin, shallow lagoon is formed between the island and the reef. Over millions of years, the island slowly sinks into a seamount as a result of the cooling crust, the weight of the island, and erosion. This process is called subsidence. Simultaneously, the fringing reef becomes a large barrier reef that is farther from the shore of the island, increasing the width and depth of the lagoon inside. Eventually, the seamount sinks completely. The barrier reef that remains is pounded by waves that break up the coral, ultimately creating tiny grains of sand that build up on the reef to form islands or islets. These islands and islets are called atolls. It can take up to 30 million years, but finally the atoll is born.
1/3 of the world's water here in the Pacific, largest body of water. We take a look at the mountain ranges. All right, that's in Hawaii, and that is the tallest mountain in the world. It's not the highest because you'll find that in the Himalayas, but this is the tallest because, as you see, much of it's underwater. But from base to top, that's the tallest. That is the deepest part on the planet. You can see Mount Everest, and that the trench goes down farther than Mount Everest goes up. If we take a look at, they were first settled by people coming in from Asia. That is excellent special effects. There's our outrigger canoe, and now we live there. Just real brief look at some of the animals. You gotta like turtles. We've got that's shrimp, breadfruit, we'll eat that. That is the domesticated taro root over there. Those are yams. From Asia, they will bring in pigs and chickens. There's an outrigger canoe. They come in many different sizes. And traditionally, not anymore, shell was used for money and trade. All right, last heading, climate, biomes, and resources. Tropical, wet, and dry. So it's going to be warm year-round. You should know the weather patterns. Orographic precipitation. You should, at this point, know orographic. Islands have mountains will cause orographic precipitation. The low islands, because they are low, they don't get a lot of rainfall, and so they will need to collect that just for water. The doldrums. Where we live, the jet stream is going from west to east. As you go farther south, it will switch from east to west. Where those two streams hit each other, you basically don't have wind, and you're going to, or very little, we'll call that the doldrums. Typhoons in the Pacific, the exact same thing as hurricanes. Now you can read that sign and try to pronounce it yourself. That is one of, if not the wettest place on Earth, 450 inches a year. Now we're looking at the endemic species. Low islands, poor soil, few resources, coconuts and bananas. High islands, rich soil, obviously hydroelectric, that's in Fuji. Also, great place to go on vacation. Tourism helps offset the economy. Many of these places, pretty much their only resource they have is the weather. That's the end, but you just need to kick back and relax because there's always birds coming by, and in a tropical resort, you never know who's going to dance on by.